questions, and then I'll open up to the audience. So start thinking about what you want to ask. But
they already know.
Oh, they already know. They want to get into it. So as I mentioned during the intro, this is a bit of a departure from the usual shady South Florida stories that you usually tell. So how did you get involved with this project?
It's a shady Georgia story. I got an email Alfred and I did over the transom. So someone just hit up the info raconteur, contact us on the website. And it was from a guy named Matt George who had just executive produced the wonderful Rob Reiner, Albert Brooks documentary for HBO. And he said he was working on a new project about a celebrity chef, and might I be interested? But that's all it said. It was really vague. So I said, well, I guess it depends on who the celebrity chef is. And he said, Paula Deen. And I said, no. And I didn't say it right away, but I was thinking it. And then I started to mull it over and talk about it and research it and talk about it with friends and family. And then I was intrigued. Because a lot of people, how many people remember Paula Deen? I guess in this crowd, sure. Makes sense from the Paula Deen movie, right? So, and what did you remember about Paul? Just keyword, what did you remember? Butter. What is it? Butter. Some people remember diabetes. A lot of people remember racism, the N-word. I found that people had this almost Mandela effect, memory of Paula Deen running around her kitchens at a restaurants with a spatula or a cleaver, dropping the N-bombs on her staff, and that wasn't obviously what happened. So I thought it was interesting. I was intrigued enough to make the trip to Savannah to meet Paula Deen and her sons at their restaurant. And the next day we went on what I call the Paula Deen backlot tour of Savannah. So we piled into this SUV, me and Paula Deen in the back, Bobby driving and Jamie in the passenger seat. And we drove around. We went to the Best Western Hotel where they opened their first illegal, the house, where the one-bedroom, two-bedroom, one-bath house where they opened their illegal catering business, the Best Western, where they had their first brick and mortar. We just went around. It was into the shell of almost psycho house of the building where Uncle Bubba's restaurant was on the crick. And Paula and Jamie were loquacious and warm and friendly, and bless you, Bobby not so much, not at all. And so after spending an afternoon watching Bobby clenching his jaw in the rearview mirror for hours, we parked in downtown Savannah, and I said, "Hey, Bobby," who hadn't said 5 words all day, "do you think how do you feel about this? You guys making a documentary?" And he goes. It was like someone stabbed a tire, he just, this long sound, he's finally somebody asks what I think about this. And then he goes into this whole, he's this is a terrible idea. I don't know why we would do this. I don't want to do this. And the next 20 minutes is just the greatest documentary we never made. With Bobby low-key apoplectic, just venting about how stupid this is and why would we pick at this scab, and he's got triplets, they're toddlers, and what do they want to open this all back up for? Paula Deen sobbing. And then Jamie's brother, I understand, I know how you feel, playing the diplomat, and I was fuck, this is fascinating. And I'm they are as advertised, the lady and sons, and I was yeah, I think in that moment, and we were kind of auditioning each other.
Right.
But I think in that moment I was yeah, this is, and then it kind of limited, I thought also what I thought, my vision of it's about this family surviving a scandal.
Right.
So it wasn't going to be this giant macro look at cancel culture or whatever you want. It was just going to be about this case study.
Right, and I was going to ask you about Bobby and Jamie, because I love how after the title, the intro and the opening credits, is you see the first thing you ask is, what do you think about this? He's this is a terrible idea.
That was me desperately trying to recreate that moment I had experienced with them in real life.
You feel it a little bit, you kind of, you see it on his face, is and the contrast between him and Jamie, is one has this kind of sweeter, bubblier personality, and he just seems so beaten down from what happened. And I think that no matter what people think about Paula or whatever, I think that when you watch The Sons, I think that's some of the most fascinating.
Yeah, I think they steal the show.
Yeah.
I think they're the most interesting characters. They're certainly more complicated than Paula is. Paula's a pretty simple character. But they were really interesting. And all three of them are in different stages of grief. which I also thought was intriguing. We talked about that in a deleted scene. You know, it's like, what stage of grief are you in? And obviously, Bobby is locked in eternal anger. Jamie is as close to acceptance as any of them will ever get. He obviously oscillates, but it's mostly acceptance. And then Paul is like forever bargaining.
Yeah, right.
She doesn't really understand what happened then. She doesn't really understand what's going on now. You know, and so, but I enjoyed talking with the boys. I really related to Bobby. Like, he's a real glass half empty kind of guy, and I just but also like, no, this is objectively a terrible idea, making this documentary. Like, why would you
go back into
why
this?
would you do this?
Right,
But then he admitted, like, because in the car too, I'm like, Bobby, like, do you ever think about this? He's like, I'm like, so it hasn't really gone, like, so his whole point of like, why bring it up again? I'm like, you're not bringing it up again. It's like, this could be therapeutic, like talking about this and it was really, but I'd never seen a family. So we made some documentaries, you know, I don't know if we made a documentary called God Forbid for Hulu, the sex scandal that brought down a dynasty. And like, I wanted to interview, this was about the alleged cuckold threesome between Jerry Falwell Jr., like the president of the largest evangelical university in the country, Liberty University, his wife Becky, and a pool boy that they met at the Fontainebleau Hotel because Miami. And so I really wanted to interview his sister, the former pool boy's sister, because she was a really wonderful character, very likable. She was the one who he confided in. She was like an outcry witness, but she was also like the little birdie on his shoulder, going like, "What the fuck are you doing? This is stupid and dysfunctional. Get out of this." So, but she didn't want to. It took like a year to convince her to do the documentary. Lev Parnas, we made From Russia with Lev for MSNBC with Rachel Maddow. I wanted to interview Lev's son, Aaron. He didn't want to do it, and he didn't, in fact, do it. So I've never seen, and in fact, if you said to me, Billy, I'm making a documentary about someone in your family, you'll do an interview? I'm like, fucking no, probably not.
Right.
But like, this family worked as a unit unlike anything I've ever seen before. So Bobby knew it was a bad idea, felt it was a bad idea, didn't want to do it, but mom said we're doing it, and when we do anything, we do it as a family. I thought that was really interesting.
So what was your perception of Paula before the documentary, and then did you get to know her well throughout the filming, and how did you feel about her throughout that filmmaking process?
I had like no percent. I wasn't a Paula Deen fan. I didn't really watch, Food Network. I wasn't really a fan of her cook. I didn't really know anything about her, to be perfectly honest, which was helpful, I think, actually. I had very few preconceived notions about her, ideas about her. What I did remember is how she transcended Food Network fame. She was ubiquitous. Like, she had like just, penetrated the pop cultural zeitgeist in a crazy way. I mean, the archive footage in this barely even scratches the surface about just how fucking everywhere this lady was for almost a decade there. And I just didn't remember anything. I just didn't, and nor do I remember if I was a part of the Twitter mob in 2013. I might very well have been. I don't remember having an opinion on it. I don't remember really knowing much about it. I didn't. I think that was actually pretty
like you feel
pretty
a little
helpful.
bit removed from it. But
and listen, I found her to be a very affable, very likable lady.
Yeah, that's why she got so famous in the first place. She has that. I think you capture that charm, regardless of what people felt about her after the 2013 thing. You could see why she got popular.
And I can say what you see is what you get. Like, she's like, there's really kind of there's a tired Paula Deen, like there's tired, cranky, all of us, but like personality-wise, like she's basically that character. She's basically that person. I found her, to be entertaining company.
Yeah, and so you mentioned earlier that you've made documentaries about drug traffickers, criminals, extremely corrupt politicians, and yet Paula is proving to be one of the most controversial or polarizing subject matters that you've tackled. Why is that? Like, why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Why do you guys think that is?
I don't know.
I find that when you talk to people about this, they get really mad.
Who has to say about anything? I don't know. It's like, it's really weird because I don't know. I honestly, why do you think, like, why is she so polarizing and divisive? I don't know that to this day that I understand it. I kind of get what happened to her in 2013. I sort of understand that, but I don't understand like why people today have so much energy
Because,
about
I mean,
her.
there's a line in the documentary that says she became the poster child for racism. And I think that was one of the takeaways from the documentary that I found the most interesting, is that it felt like people were looking for somebody to put all of their accusations of, like, all of their anger on. About
Don't we have enough of those now?
Yeah.
Though? Like, we still need Paula Deen to beat up on? Like, I don't know, I just don't, like, she's public enemy number one?
Right, and considering what was going on, I think that's, the filmmaking is really incredible in the segment when you're talking about George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin and what was going on in the country at this time, and yet this is taking up so much of the mental energy of the country. And
we're really good at that, about getting distracted by these shiny objects, and I think that's, she felt like a consolation prize. Like, we didn't get Zimmerman, but we're gonna get Paula Deen.
Right.
And Michael Groover, who has a lot of interesting ideas on a lot of things, does make an interesting point that, like, what did this do for racism? What did destroying Paula, like, solve in this country? And what did all of the focus and attention on this woman and her mistakes have to do, or her racism have to do with, like, greater problems, facing us as a people? And it's a pretty fair question. I don't know what we fixed, and I don't know who won what out of this. As Bobby says, I don't know who won.
Right, and, like, do you think this would have played out the same way in 2025?
No, fuck no. What are you talking about? I mean, for better or worse, and I cast no judgment on this, I'll leave that to you guys. You take the exact same fact pattern of Paula Deen in this case study and apply, and it happens right now? No, it's a totally different outcome. And is that good? Is that bad? Would it be more proportionate? Or is it just like because we're sort of numb to this? I don't know. But, like, no, there would be virtually zero consequences for this, I think, now.
Take some questions from the audience. Right here.
So watching it, I was just kind of thinking, there were so many people that. Sure. Thanks. Watching the documentary, I couldn't help but notice how many people appeared throughout the documentary that had been canceled themselves since then, right? And some of them have made comebacks, right? Like, like they came for Whoopi Goldberg for a minute, but Whoopi Goldberg's not canceled, but Ellen's gone, right? Do you think there's any redemption on the horizon for Paula Deen, or do you think she just has enough money and she wants to stay out of the spotlight?
Well, to be fair, Ellen's self-deported. Let's
Right.
start there. I mean,
But she's not the only one, like,
so,
Charlie Rose is coming back.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a bit of a who's who of Me Too, this movie, isn't it? Like, it's sort of a bingo card or a dangerous drinking game. Like, oh, there's Spacey, oh, there's Matt Lauer, there's Dog the Bounty Hunter or Mel Gibson, So I think what's interesting about it, and this is something that I've considered, that I've thought of, that comes up in these Q&As. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, we're going to bring it up now, but if it wouldn't have come up. And that is the fact that she was a woman, and a woman from the South, no less. She was like low-hanging fruit. And I will tell you that I don't know, like, it seems abundantly clear to me that there was a double standard here. I don't know how to quantify it or how to articulate it, and nobody else really has, but it seems clear that Dog the Bounty Hunter getting suspended for 12 weeks or whatever the fuck it was, when we had recordings of him, and that was just a tiny sample of a really ruthlessly, violently hateful use of the N-word repeatedly, in precisely, if context matters, in the worst possible, most hateful possible and most cancelable context. And yet, and he's like, he good, and then, and then Mel Gibson, I mean, how is that? How, comparatively speaking, how does that track, And I don't know the answer. I'd be curious to hear what people have to say. But, like, it's kind of there. It's sort of this unspoken thing that's going on, and I just don't know how to, like, what to say about it. I also don't feel really qualified to opine on it. But I wanted to bring it up because it feels like that was at play here as well. Yeah. Just pass it around.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have to host now. You have to carry the mic. Wherever, wherever you want, yeah.
I just want to compare Martha Stewart with Paula Deen. Similar situation, but she was able to, maybe she was just smarter and had more people around her to navigate the situation, but she was also taken down, but did a much better job recovering.
Well, Martha Stewart's a very brilliant and sophisticated and savvy woman. I'm not even entirely sure what she did, to tell you the truth. That not unlike Paula Deen, that a lot of other people do and don't get into any trouble for whatsoever. So, and she handled it, yeah, obviously really beautifully. And of course, I think Snoop helps a lot too. You know, that cosign goes a long way, I think, in pop culture relevance. Yeah. Sorry, the mic's going around. I don't know how, yeah.
Billy, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So in 2015, there was a super controversial photo that they posted for Halloween on social media where
It was
Bobby
Yeah.
did
As Ricky
brownface
Ricardo.
as Ricky Ricardo, and that blew up, and the person that she was being represented by killed it again and threw her under the bus. I was wondering why you didn't include that in the documentary.
There's a lot more, you know, and it already is running almost 10 minutes too long, and there's a lot of beats and a lot of pods that I'd like to include and dive deeper. This was originally like a 3-parter, like 3 40+ minute parts, which included a lot more of that. Also, that's a little bit past our kind of, you know, coverage area, if you will. Like it's one of these, it's a kind of a postscript, I think would be fair, but also it was like a throwback picture too, to something that they did, and what it was, if you don't know, Bobby, the son, had gotten like a tan, or like tanned himself and like went like did like a Lucy Ricky Ricardo thing, and people felt that it was brown face, that he was doing brown face, and so they posted it again, like just brilliant. They posted it as like a Throwback Thursday or something, like and just bad decision making. And so was that in and of itself like racist, or I don't like, that's up to, it's in the eye of the beholder, but like, what the fuck were they thinking? You know, just like, that's all. Like, that's just one of those things that, like, you know, what is Gritzy says, all racism is ignorance, but not all ignorance is racism. Like, you can just be dumb. Like, that's fair.
Hi, Ron, right here.
Yeah, hi.
Is this working up?
Yeah.
I think Paula is a product of her environment, of her upbringing, of growing up in the Deep South. I think she was naive. I think she was ignorant, and not in a, truly ignorant of the world around her. And I would, I don't want to say forgive her, but not come down so hard on her. And just to add, I'm a food stylist in Miami, and also in the past a freelance segment producer for Food Network.
Oh. Did you work with Paula?
No, but I've worked with other chefs, and it's not a pretty business.
Ha.
And also I follow you on Instagram.
Oh. Thank you. Sorry about Joe. I mean, that's a bummer for all of us. For us who just love content. It's such a, yeah.
I'm going to grab the microphone
Okay,
while
this
it's
is
here. My bias, I would walk through the room when Ellie is watching Paula Deen, and I could never stand her or the food. So that's my bias. It's unhealthy, and I just couldn't take it. But what intrigued me about, as an attorney, the mistakes that were made that led to this were just inexcusable. And did you, from either the sons, probably not from Paula, how did she pick up a med-mal attorney to represent her in a major case like this?
Like, you know, she's just like a bumpkin at heart, you know, she's like the small town southern Georgia girl, and so, I mean, she just hired a local, very good attorneys, by the way, but obviously not accustomed to handling high net worth, high profile celebrity clients and cases, and I don't know that you have to be one of those in order to know to object to that question and to say, like, I'm ordering my client not to answer, we'll certify it, or call the judge on the phone right now, and we'll, so you don't have to be a genius or the greatest attorney of all time to know that this was mishandled, and really all of it stems from that. All of this, for all of the other stuff that came out and what you may think about it, it all stems from that deposition, her answering that question, and then of course them filing it and with the court, and then alerting the National Enquirer to check the docket in the case in the Southern District, and then look on page 5. Like, it wasn't leaked because it was a public record, but it was someone, the journalist was directed toward it, to it. I think, well, I mean, she should have just paid the fucking money, dude. Like, what was she even doing? That was like a year later, she was sitting in that depot. She should have written the check. And Paula certainly says that now. I should probably include that in the docs. I wish someone would have just said, write the check, y'all. Just written the check. But no one really, like, they let her and, like, I'm going to defend my brother. It's like, for what? He did a lot of that. Like, in his deposition himself, he confessed to a lot of the facts related, or the counts related to the alleged sexual harassment. He basically confessed in one way or another. So it was the racial discrimination that was really the questionable thing, but that was also the shiny object that kind of dragged Paula Deen into it and exposed her in the way that it did.
What happened to that lawyer, you know?
Oh, he's the Attorney General of Georgia. No, I'm just kidding. I know. But you believed it. Cream rises to the top, y'all. No, I have no idea. I mean, like, again, very successful, prominent, competent Savannah attorney. Like, these were not bad lawyers. These were just not necessarily the right lawyers for the job. You don't hire a podiatrist to do your brain surgery. Like, there are areas of expertise in the law as there are in medicine. Like, she just didn't necessarily cast the role right,
But it felt like the crisis managers as well.
Oh yeah, the crisis managers. I don't know if there was anything you could do with her, though, to be fair to them. But I would have charged her $25,000 a month, not the $50,000 that they charged to fuck that up.
My question pertains towards the editing of the. Oh, wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Hello. It pertains towards like the editing or the post-production of the film. After having filmed everything, did you find it difficult to get an edit or a sort of direction, a clear direction of what you wanted, especially seeing as certain things that Paula would say throughout the documentary, we've seen how media would misconstrue it or take it multiple different ways. Did you think that would happen depending on how you would put it forward, or was it an intention, like people can take it however they want to, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And documentaries, as much as we want to depict reality and tell the truth, it is still a creative interpretation of reality. So every subjective decision I make about what winds up in the frame, what winds up in the cut, what we cut to and when, is a creative decision that impacts, obviously, you and how you perceive it and how you feel about it. I wish I could just like show you some of just the raw footage of Paula Deen. The lawyers wouldn't let me do that. Not her lawyers, but our lawyers. But like, some of it is just really very revealing of how like naive she is and her inability to have nuanced conversations about almost anything, including about what happened to her and her life and her career. And I would love to just sit here and watch the interview, like the Paula Deen interviews that I did with her, with all of you, and just to see. I think that the edit is not an inaccurate depiction of how that went, but I feel like they were very revealing in ways that, yeah, the edit could never quite do justice.
Hi, Billy. Do you know what she's doing now? She closed, because in the documentary it said she closed her restaurant August 1st, 2025. What are they doing now?
I mean, they're all right. There's no GoFundMe if you're worried about it. You saw the house, right? I mean, she's okay. No, I mean, oh yeah, they closed the restaurant because they were making too much money. And, no, I'm kidding. They went out of business for the same reason anybody goes out of business. In 2025, in a tourism-driven economy, as Savannah is, I think they told me sales, walk-ins to the door, were down almost 30% year to year from 2024. So it was just, it had cycled through. Paula was already in a kind of state of semi-retirement. They opened these Paula Deen family kitchen restaurants in like Nashville and a few other states that are still open and doing well. And she kind of travels and does book signings a couple times a year or whatever. And so, yeah, otherwise she has a YouTube, she has like 5-6 million Facebook fans on her page, and does a regular, almost daily, like YouTube cooking show and things like that. So.
She There were lots of moments in it that were pretty funny throughout. How did you sort of find the balance between what humor was inevitable, with Paula just being Paula, and what was intentional in editing and timing and whatnot?
I mean, it was all intentional in that we knew like these moments would have some levity or at least make you guys laugh. But I mean, a lot of our projects tend to be funny, even the serious ones. I think we have an obligation to not only tell the truth, obviously, but to entertain you, because otherwise you're not gonna sit through a 100-minute documentary. So, and I thought she was fine. I thought the boys were fine. I mean, they're good television, these people. I mean, let's be real, right? So like, we just thought that, I mean, yeah, we just sat and did the edit and let the chips fall where they may.
Have they seen this, or have they seen it?
Yeah, so Paula Deen saw it the same day that I delivered the master to the Toronto Film Festival. I sent it to Paula to watch. The boys saw it at the Toronto Film Festival. They just, for whatever reason, they had the same, link that she had, and they decided not to watch it. Bobby didn't go to a screening. He watched it in the hotel by himself, which is so Bobby. And then, and Jamie came to the screening and sat with an audience and watched it, because that's so Jamie. And I got their reactions like in real time there. There's obviously things in it that they wish weren't in it. And it was hard to relive, obviously. But all in all, I think they're satisfied that it tells more of the story than had been told before. And if people think that she's a racist ghoul and the punishment fit the crime and she deserved to lose 9 figures in lifetime earnings in about 36 hours, then at least people have an informed opinion rather than what they felt happened in 2013.
What's the release schedule?
I don't know the answer to that yet, or I can't say yet, yeah.
Hey Billy,
Hey.
good to see you again, how you doing?
Good to see you.
I hope you indulge me, I have a two-parter, but first one, given the fact, obviously, Cocaine Cowboys, it's part of the zeitgeist, it's part of Miami culture, it's so wired into our DNA, right? You now have this documentary about Paula Deen. Has the irony ever dawned on you that you had this extremely addictive substance, as in cocaine, and now you have this lady who is dealing in also a very addictive substance as butter? Have you ever sat there editing 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, whatever it is, and thought, holy shit, it's another drug dealer?
I don't smoke a lot of weed, dude. And irony is dead, so I don't have to deal in any of that. But no, I mean, the moment that was actually kind of cool in a similar vein, Alfred and I were on Tony Bourdain's show when he came to do the Miami episode with Michelle Bernstein and Uncle Luke and Iggy Pop, and went to have stone crabs and beer with Anthony Bourdain. And I don't drink beer. But when Anthony Bourdain calls and says, I want to have a beer with you, then you drink beer, right? So, and that, like, kind of celebrity beef between the two of them, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. Like, I just, because he had such a profound disdain, an almost comical kind of disdain for this woman. And I just thought that I sat there thinking about that like, I know this guy, I really like this guy. And she said some pretty questionable things about him, her reaction to him. So I did take kind of pause there about, like, am I going to let her say, it's like, well, she's, he said his piece. She gets to say her piece. So that was, but I don't know that I fundamentally disagree with anything he said about her cooking and her, her food is arguably worse for you than cocaine. So.
That's the point. So, actually, based on that, wouldn't that also almost be like 2 different cartels kind of facing off? Where you have the Bourdains and the Deans?
Yes, I'm going to do a Cartel Wars documentary next about that, yeah. Anyway, what else we got? Anybody else?
Did she
Good?
cook for you?
Sorry?
Did she cook for you when you were
She did, yeah, she did. One of the first nights I ate at the restaurant, and then the next night she made she did a seafood ball. A seafood ball, y'all. She worked like all day. She balled the seafood with sausages and everything. It was really good. Yeah, a little healthier also than, yeah.
What are you working on next?
Oh, I mean, we're working to get this done. So.
Hi, I have the mic, sorry. Hi, Billy. I'll pass it to you. I'll volleyball it over there.
Just throw it.
I'm gonna throw it over there. Hi, she seemed like reasonably victimized or upset by her accountability speech. Did she ever clarify like how she would have done that differently, or if she had a desire to position that differently? Like her and her sons were like, my mother stayed up all night recording this video. Like it was a hostage situation. Like was there some kind of rebuttal of another way she would have done it or framed it, or I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I just think she was very confused and disoriented and kind of shell-shocked. I don't know. I mean, I asked her now, like, she said she didn't know what she was apologizing for. Or who she was apologizing to. She's like, am I supposed to apologize to my husband, my ex-husband who I said this to the bank robber I said this about? She wasn't really sure how she had wronged an entire nation.
Got it.
And I don't think she was well media trained or prepared in the same way that her lawyer did not prepare her for the deposition, other than to say, tell the truth. I don't think she was well, and then they did like 3 of them, and they like uploaded them and then deleted them. It was weird. It was, the whole thing was just really amateur hour. Yeah.
Whatever happened to Lisa?
Lisa Jackson.
Miss Jackson.
Lisa Jackson. Yeah, how many of you thought that Lisa Jackson was black? Yeah, you're all racist.
Also, who was in that reveal, by the way?
Yeah, it's like a twist.
Yeah, I just figured it out myself at that time, at that point. But it's funny, I asked both boys separately, like, what's the most common misconception? Like, I'm not sure it was a misconception, but like, did you know she's white? Like, that was like a really underreported fact that she was white. Her lawyer had a very novel theory about why she was a victim of racial discrimination, which I thought was actually really interesting, which was that because she was the GM of a restaurant that had a predominantly black staff, and that the tension that he created with his racism or racist jokes or whatever it was she was accusing him of, that a lot of that fell on her. The onus of that and the pressure of that from the staff fell on her to kind of like mitigate and deal with. Again, novel theory, but the judge was like, okay, maybe she's like, what they say, like kind of an unwitting or like, sort of collateral damage but she herself doesn't have standing or cannot sue for racial discrimination. But Lisa she sort of moved around in Georgia, and I don't know exactly where I obviously successfully connected with Dora briefly, Dora Charles, but I was not able to connect with Lisa Jackson. But she is now suing Paula in Savannah for breach of contract of what was up until that moment a confidential settlement in the litigation because of comments that Paula made doing press at the Toronto International Film Festival, claiming that Paula Deen defamed her and violated their non-disparagement agreement in this heretofore secret settlement. So do I hear sequel?
I want to ask you about Paula at the Toronto International Film Festival. How have you're making a documentary about Paula Deen. Have people have strong opinions about her attending screenings or her being there, and what's going on with that?
Oh wow, what a setup. There was a lot of tension about Paula Deen attending film festival screenings, which is weird because I've gone to premieres with cocaine traffickers before. Like it's strange to me how like she's like verboten. It's like, she's like, Paula Deen's not going to come, is she? I was like, she's a grown-ass woman. You're going to sell tickets to the public. I can't stop this lady from getting on a plane and coming to the festival. There was some tension about it, and not that they were wrong. Who the hell knows what Paula's ever going to say? You put her in front of a crowd or on a microphone or something, and look, she got herself sued by Lisa Jackson again. but there was a weird, like, yeah, people respond to her very, like, viscerally and have very deep and profound feelings about her and her presence. Crazy shit though. So she did not attend the world premiere, the Saturday screening at Toronto, but she and the boys came to the Monday screening at the Toronto Film Festival, and it was crazy. Did you?
I was at the first screening.
Yeah,
the
you
one she
missed the
wasn't at,
Monday.
yeah.
So at the end, like Tom Powers asked me questions, like, and the third or fourth question was like, the same question you asked, like, have they seen it? What do they think of it? And I'm like, oh, they just saw it, and I think they're here. And like, there's just obviously this big gasp in the room, and then she comes out from like behind this thing, and the entrance to the theater is like a multiplex with like a wall, you know, as you walk in, and she comes down to the front in this spotlight, and it was like, I don't know if you remember Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard when she goes to see Mr. DeMille at the, you know, and then like the spotlight, and Hawkeye's like, let's get a look at you, Miss Desmond, you know, and she's just like, I've come home at last, you know, and these Canadians just got on their feet and cheered for this lady. I expected them to give her a warm reception. Canadians are very friendly, lovely people. But they fucking gave her this standing ovation. It was surreal. It was wild. It was
like
really,
that should be in your
really wild. Yeah, and all the people, of course, who said, like, maybe she shouldn't come to the festival were like, maybe she should have come to the festival earlier.
All right, we have time for like 2 more questions.
I know I'm asking a Miami filmmaker, but what role do you think the fact that this story started in Savannah, Georgia, in a state that's still living the legacy of the war between the states, played?
So, Paula Deen was born in Albany, Georgia, southern Georgia, 18 years prior to the passage of the Civil Rights Act. As you know, she, in her senior year of high school, saw her class, or school, integrated for the very first time. She barely graduated that high school to boot, and that is the extent of her education. This is not to make excuses, but to sort of illustrate the kind of person that we're talking about. And I was blessed to grow up in a time, less so for children now, where we got a little bit older and more empathetic. We understood the experiences of different people. Me as a white man in America, understanding that, like, oh, not everybody grows up the way that I grow up because the world doesn't treat everybody the same way it treats me. And I feel like we have to have that kind of grace and empathy for people like Paula, too, like just people whose experiences don't mirror ours, and we're trying to have grace to say, okay, I don't have to agree with you, I don't have to respect it, but I understand your experience and why you may see the world differently than I do. And so I think that Paula is a product of her time and her place, as we all are. I think the beef that Michael Twitty, for example, has with her is the inability to have any self-awareness and to confront that herself, and to say, you know, perhaps I need to be more empathetic, and perhaps I need to see the world a little bit differently. That said, tell this story. I don't know that I've told this really publicly, but I was interviewing Hollis Johnson, Paula's, you know, former bodyguard and driver, spent 12 years sharing hotel rooms with her sometimes. I mean, like that. And Paula, I'll say in this country, maybe it's just humanity in general, we ascribe far too much wisdom to people with wealth and fame. I know a lot of people who are phenomenally successful in areas in which they're not even experts in. And yet we seem to think that billionaires have all the answers about everything, or that famous people should opine about everything. And so Paula is often asked by very sophisticated reporters to opine on the history of the civil rights movement, or the nuances of race relations in America's South. The fuck does she know? Like, why? Like, you know, like, it just doesn't make any, why would you ask her, and who cares what she thinks about this? But, so I found myself in a situation, because she gives cringe answers to shit, you know, sometimes when she's asked, when she's confronted that way. And sometimes she tries to not answer. She's like, well, you know, it's like Johnny Carson always said, don't talk about politics, you know, we do our thing. But like, people really like want her to talk about this, and she talks about it the way you would expect her to talk about it, like artlessly, And so I remember her giving an artless answer to one of these questions about how like, well, you know, slavery, they were like our family. It's like, first of all, like, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't own, and just like, this like, sort of apologia for slavery, that's how it came off. It was just bad. And then I'm interviewing Hollis, and Hollis talks about like, I was like her family. I was like the third son. I spent more time with her than her sons did. And I'm thinking to myself, this is really interesting, because Paula had a very similar, I said, and I attempted to ask him a question about this toxic cycle that he and Paula seem to fall into, these like stereotypical, dysfunctional race roles in their relationship. We're family, you're not family. You're not her family. You know, it made sense in my head. I couldn't articulate it to him. And I would phrase it and I would rephrase it and fail miserably. And then it dawned on me. I'm trying to convince this man that this relationship that he has with this woman, that is very real and profound and meaningful to him, is not what he thinks that it is. I'm trying to white-splain to him how he should feel about this woman and what she's done for him and what his truth is. And I was like, I never felt more like a latte drinking like East Coast elite. And I said to myself, Billy, shut the fuck up. And I think I was like, you know what? Never mind. Let's move on. And we moved on. And I was like, he's telling his truth about how he feels about this woman and what she did. And who am I? You guys can decide for yourself what it means. But like, my job is to hear him and to share it with you, and you guys get to decide.
Last question.
How long did you work on this?
All in about, so I visited them in, like, it was Passover of 2024. So April of 2024. So that was when I first met them. So we probably started working on it that summer. So about a year, just under, about that. Yeah. So, yeah.
You're gonna, like, go to streaming or?
Oh, yeah, eventually. We're just doing the festival circuit now. Like I said, this is the festival cut. Eventually it'll be a little shorter and very different, so you'll get to experience it a little bit. Yeah, you'll be from the very small group of people that will have seen this version. Yeah.
What do you expect to change the most?
The runtime, I think. Also, I'd like to get a little more Twitty in there. I think he was really important for context, and I think there was some things. There's also some things that through the Q&As I've discovered people want to hear from Paula that I think we need to hear from Paula as well. Yeah.
That's all the time we have for the Q&A. Thank you. And make sure you go to the audience for it after I do the theater.
5 is the number.